Hey everyone, look, it's the moon. Or wait, my primitive drawing of the moon. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about moon photography and how you can capture great images with even a simple camera setup. So we'll cover a few different things in this masterclass, and we will talk about the process for imaging as well as the process for editing. We'll quickly go through each of these steps, and then hopefully it'll be a good guide for you to go and shoot your next shots of the moon, even if it's not a special lunar eclipse like we had last week. So first of all, we'll talk about the equipment. So as you can see here, I have a telescope behind me here, which was one of my setups with a AM5 star tracker, and a very more simple tracker here, the Skywatcher Star Adventure. But you actually don't even need either of these star trackers to capture the moon. You can just take your camera, make sure you get your focus and settings right, and shoot photos with a tripod setup. Just you'll have to potentially move the centering of the moon so that you can keep the moon near the center of your frame, which is will produce the best output. But other than that, it's generally pretty simple to get images of the moon since it's really bright, especially when it's a full moon, which is what I recommend starting with if you've never photographed the moon before. So if we want to get started here, we're going to jump into what these edit photo setups look like. So you can see the advanced setup on my right side, the left side of the screen here. You can see I have a telescope here. It's a 400 millimeter telescope. It's from William Optics. It does really well for moon and sun photography. I wouldn't recommend it for deep sky astro, but that's not what we're discussing here. And so with that setup, I used a Sony a7 IV camera here. And so this setup worked out really well. And then in order to connect my camera here to the telescope, I have these spacers here, so then I would screw spacers on here, connect it, and then I can achieve a proper focus with the setup. So that was the more advanced setup. My other setup with the other star tracker over here was using this setup here. You see it's just a Sony camera lens, 100 to 400 millimeters with the Sony a7 R4. And this telephoto lens works also really well for capturing the moon. So those are the two setups I used. And like I said, you don't necessarily need to have an advanced setup. All you need is a tripod go along with your camera and your lens. I recommend something over 100 millimeters for your lens's focal length. But I saw some people capturing some pretty cool images of the eclipse with 55 or 50 millimeter lenses. So definitely don't limit yourself if you don't have a telephoto lens. So we're going to jump into editing some photos now, and those photos will be of some test shots of the nearly full moon that I captured the night before the eclipse last week. So you can see here I have imported these photos into my library in Lightroom Classic. If you don't know how to use Lightroom Classic, I have videos on that on my YouTube channel. You can go find those. But we'll assume that you are able to import your photos into Lightroom. So once they're imported, then we can go over to the Develop tab here, and we'll see a photo of the moon here. And I've already prepared the preview images here so that I'm able to zoom in and see the full detail on the moon. So we'll go through here and do a quick edit. So the first edit that I want to do, so I guess maybe I should state what is the goal of this edit. So I have, I think it's nearly 100 images, 97 here. And what I want to do is to improve the details of the moon by stacking the images. So if you zoom all the way in here, you can kind of see that some of the details might be grainy. By stacking multiple of these exposures, you can clean up that graininess and add more signal to reduce the noise in your image. So that's the basic idea, and we'll come here. The first edit I want to do is to crop the images, since most of this image is black space. Even at 400 millimeters, the moon is still not filling the full frame. So crop in like this, and now we have this image to work with. So we'll edit this one and then synchronize the settings to the rest of the images. And editing the moon is not a whole lot different from any other edit, right? Like, I basically look at the details in the moon, and then I try to use the tools in Lightroom Classic here to enhance like the different features and contrast in the moon that I want to show. So if you watch any of my edits, you're going to know that I like to use the contrast as well as the clarity, and then the texture. So the texture can do very interesting things to a moon photo. So if I go all the way like extreme with the texture in my moon photos, it's a bit too extreme and it looks over edited, and frequently I see people doing this on social media, so I don't recommend it. Like, sometimes you can go a little bit further with some of these edits and still get good results, but like, be careful that you're not taking it too far so things look off. So you gotta just go through some trial and error and see what looks good. Dehaze, we can do a few different things. So you can see, like, look, the contrast is looking pretty good here. So there are several ways to edit the moon. Like right now, like, you can see a lot of the dark area here has a lot of detail in it. You can see what adding saturation does to the vibrance does to the image. Maybe you can get some detail and create like what people would generally call the mineral moon. It doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot for this particular image. But yeah, we can just leave it like that, and then you really don't need to do a whole lot more edits than this. If you want, you can do different things, like you probably definitely want to, you might or might not want the sharpening in the image. That may or may not help. Let's see if we add that back, if it looks better. And then you can use this eye here to turn the edits on and off to see if you like the change that it made to your image. To be honest with you, I can't really say that I'm seeing a huge difference between turning this sharpening on and off. Yeah, it's making minor improvements. And you might want to do a little bit of noise reduction depending on how grainy your image is. So, like, this is a quick edit here, and then you probably want to enable like profile corrections and remove chromatic aberrations. So if you are using a camera lens, this was shot with a telescope, so it's probably not as bad. So we can kind of see touches of a purplish hue here. Those would be considered chromatic aberrations. And if we go to the sampler here, we can try to remove those by, let's see, we can try just by sampling. If we can't get the sample to work, we can go here. All right, so that doesn't seem to be working. So what we'll do is we'll do like 2 pixels, and then we can, if we want, we can change the range. So you can see that already made an improvement. There's less purple there. If we move this range here, and we want to move it towards the purplish side, you can see that it improved a little bit the amount of purple hue. So you just want to remove it off of that, so that when you look at the moon zoomed out, you're not seeing a color around the edge of the moon. So if we do 2 pixels, maybe we can, there we go. Maybe that's 2 pixels. So it's completely, it looks completely gone now. Let's see. Am I seeing any hue? Yeah, I don't see any aberration there anymore. So then obviously if your lens was giving a greenish or bluish aberration here instead of a purple one like we saw here, then you could change the colors. And then a lot of times if the aberrations are enough pixels wide, then the sampler tool will just automatically solve it for you. In this case, we had to manually set the aberrations. All right, so we can see that this is looking like a pretty reasonable image. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do here. Let's see if we want to add more contrast. We could reduce the shadows or the blacks a little bit, just a touch. Maybe we want the whites to stand out more so the brightest parts of the image look bright. Because like right now, like this particular image, you can see a lot of detail in the moon, but like a lot of people might not think that you're seeing the actual brightness of the moon here, right? Because the moon tends to be brighter, have like a halo sort of look to it many times at night, because the atmosphere might not be clear. But for the purposes of this image, we've got this result here. And so then what I would do once I've had this particular edit, I would select some number of images, maybe 100 of them. Also, it would be a good idea to go through the images one by one and edit or make sure that they look good. Each of the images look good, and select the top few images or top percentage of images, like maybe the top 20%. So if I did 100 images here, right, maybe 20 of them are better than the other, and the 80 of them are not quite as good. So if I blend the top 20 of those images together, then you'll get a better result. And obviously, as you scale this up, you'll get better results. So the people who create the best moon images, like go through this and either take a video or and then use another software other than Lightroom to filter through the frames of the video to pick the best ones to create the most detailed moon image. Or they would take thousands of images with their setup, and then they would pick only the best, like 100 out of 1,000 or 3,000 or something like that. So when you see a lot of these images out there that are showing like ridiculous detail, like someone probably put like potentially hours and hours of effort to go and to capture the images and then to pick the best ones and blend those together. So yeah, like this is not necessarily a simple process. The process I'm teaching you here is very simple. So now that we've imported our photos into Lightroom, we've done an edit on a single photo, then we can select the photos. For this example, I'm just going to select 10 photos, or so 11 photos here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to synchronize the edits here. So if we can go to develop settings and we can do sync settings, we could also probably click the sync settings button here, would also do the same thing. And so then if we want to do check all, we definitely want to do the cropping. All of the settings should be synchronized between all the photos. So we'll give that a second. And so now if we go through here, we should have 10 photos that are all synchronized. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I like the color of this image. So if we come up here, I think I want to make the moon look a little bit more blue, like this, right? And so if I make this change, it should, I will have to probably reapply it to all the images. But like, I think I want to change that. I think I like that better. So this is, again, a personal preference type of thing. Like some people might like the moon to look a little bit more yellow, right? So if you go like this, right, you can get a really warm moon, or you can do a really cool moon, or you can do something like this, which is sort of in between. I kind of like this look, so I'm going to synchronize these settings again. And then I'm going to make sure that, yeah, looks like we got the right moon here. And so what I want to do after that, I'm going to export all of these. And so export specific folders. So I'm going to go to my desktop, all of my things that are photos I import into here. Moon, full, call this. All of my like pre-processing steps go into this Photoshop folder on my desktop. So I keep them all in the same spot so I can find them when I need to. So I'll save this full moon here. Don't necessarily need a sequence. Want to make sure I'm saving these as TIFF files. This and probably do 16 bits on that so I get more detail. And so we'll go ahead and export these photos. So it'll take a minute for these photos to export. They're actually pretty cropped, so the photos will be pretty small. So you can see it quickly finished here. And then we're going to jump over to Photoshop here. So in Photoshop, we're going to use some feature here called load files into stack. It comes from the scripts under file here. And we'll browse here. We're going to go to the folder that I just saved the photos to. So we've got our 11 photos that we exported here. We're going to import those into the stack here. We want to automatically align those source images. So one thing about this automatic alignment, it will really not work very well if you do not crop your moon photos first. So you want the moon photos to be cropped close into the moon, or else you're going to have a lot of trouble with this align source images. Also, you don't want your images to be, they need to be bright enough. If they're like super dim, like on the moon, it's also going to have a lot of trouble aligning the images. So since I've done this quite a few times and I trust the edit on those photos is going to stack pretty well, I'm going to go not only align the images, I'm going to create what's called a smart object. And so we can quickly talk about that once this loads in here, but I'm going to start this process. So basically, the smart object will allow us to blend the moon photos with a really simple process, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, cool. So that went really fast here since there's like only 11 photos. You can see that if we zoom all the way in here, you can see that things got aligned in the corners, and there's like some empty space in the corners here. So that's a good indication that it actually tried to adjust the alignment of the specific images and that they're probably stacked, but we're going to double check that. So let's go up to the layer here. And since we created a smart object, we can do smart object operations on this stack of images. And we can go to stack mode and we're going to select maximum. So with stack mode maximum, what that will do is it will take the brightest pixel from each of the 11 images in the stack, and it will use that pixel to be the specific pixel value for the stacked images. And so if there's any misalignment of any of the images, you'll see around fringing and other weird stuff happening along the edges of the moon, and the detail in the moon will be blurry and there'll be a lot of problems. But it looks like this stack and alignment worked really well. So we can go back to the proper stack mode that we would want to produce the best result for our image. And so the best result for our image will be the mean. So we'll produce the mean. So that will produce an average of all of the pixels in the image, and it will produce a result. And so you can see there's less grainy details here. Everything is blended and smoothed in by the blending process we had. And so you see, since we did the pre-processing edit on here, we really don't need to do too much more of an edit to this photo. I think it looks pretty good. Like this, it's a pretty solid moon photo, I would say, especially for the equipment I have. If you have a like 1,000, 2,000 millimeter telescope, you could probably provide a lot more detail. But I'm shooting with my 400 millimeter scope, so this is looking pretty good. So that's the simple process. And then now that you have this, you can export it and post it to social media, whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, so I guess we can talk with one other thing we could talk about is the smart objects. So I showed you one way to load things into the smart objects using the scripts here. This load file into stack. You can also load all of your files into layers in Photoshop here, and then select all of them and create a smart object from that. That would be another approach. But yeah, I've found that the alignment and whatever process that like is happening through that script generally works really well, especially for full moon images. So I highly recommend it. It's just a really simple way to create a moon stack from several images. Yeah, so this is in my opinion, a pretty solid looking moon, and I would post it to social media. One thing I did not mention is, let's jump back over to Lightroom here real quick if I can find the window. If we go back into Lightroom, I wanted to quickly talk about the exposure settings so that you can have some level of guidance on what you should try if you go out to shoot. So my images here are ISO 100, 1/500th of a second, and so for a full moon, that might be a good starting settings. And so obviously with my telescope, I don't have aperture setting. So there are different apertures. My aperture is like I think it's about f5.5 or f5.9, I forget, on my telescope. So with your camera, you might want to, especially with a full moon, like stop that down to like f11 or something like that, and do 1 over. If you're using a really solid tripod, you can try doing 1 over 200 or 1 over 100, and you can get some really solid results. Especially with when you're focusing with your telephoto lenses, it can be harder to achieve focus. So like stopping your aperture down to f11, you can really get a much wider range of focus. It'll be much easier for you to do your manual focus on the moon itself. And since the moon is really bright, you don't need to open up your aperture all the way to allow in as much light as possible, like you would probably want to do for the stars or Milky Way if you're just using a tripod. So yeah, this is some basic settings. Yeah, I would say for a full moon between ISO 100, ISO 400, and then if your tripod is not stable, obviously try to use a shorter exposure for your shutter. So then you would have to open your aperture further, maybe increase your ISO, and then shoot like the general rule is usually 1 over your focal length is a good value that will produce you a clean results without motion, even if you're shooting handheld or your tripod is not all that stable. And so that's just a general rule that you can follow when shooting not only the moon but really any photography. But yeah, like I said, my strong recommendation is that you find a solid tripod, and then that'll allow you to shoot cleaner images at a lower ISO and a more stop down aperture, so that you can make it easier for you to focus and get all the details right. So yeah, that's my recommendations on capturing moonshots. So this is a sample that I did before the lunar eclipse. Maybe we can take a second and look at some of my lunar eclipse photos. They're not exactly following these rules that I just mentioned, but they can be kind of cool to discuss, and I can talk a little bit about what I was thinking as I was capturing them. So if we quickly import these are the photos that I captured with my I think most of these are with my I think these are all with my telephoto lens and not with the telescope. So you can see I was even running some test shots on the night of the eclipse. So I was shooting through the high clouds, trying to capture the moon. So again, I shoot lots of test shots. Like I shot test shots the night before, I shot test shots the night of the eclipse, and you can see I did a whole bunch of these samples here to see. You can see it's kind of cool seeing the moon through the high clouds and the thicker clouds covering part of it. And then as the night went on, I got to the actual eclipse itself. So during the eclipse, these are some of the shots. You can see there's still a whole lot of high clouds here. So again, like as there were high clouds, I had to make some major adjustments from the exposures I shot the night before. So you can see these are 1 over 30 of a second. So if it had been similar conditions to the clear night before, I would have been shooting like close to 1 over 400, 1 over 500. All right, and so these are like a very different setup. So you can see as the eclipse progressed, there were still high clouds, and it got cloudier and cloudier to the point where you really could, like, this is like 50% eclipse, you can barely even see the moon at all. And it did not improve. So it got cloudier and cloudier until I got to the total eclipse. During the total eclipse, I wasn't sure I was going to capture anything, so I was standing outside and it had been raining a little bit. So I just literally waited, and I could see barely the bright part of the moon through the clouds. And I knew that I had like probably 2 minutes to capture a photo. So I actually captured these test shots. So I could not get the moon directly, so I took some guess captures where the moon would be, because I was not, no, couldn't see the moon, so I don't know, it wasn't in my composition, so I guessed it was not there, and then I guessed again, and I got it here. So then I made some small adjustments and was able to again capture this image. Then I made some small adjustments, and I was able to get a couple of images here where I had the moon in frame. These are, again, like really long. I think these are 30-second exposures at ISO 800 at 5.6. So I was letting in as much light as I can and doing really long exposures. So normally this would produce some kind of really blurry image of the moon. So if I did these exposures on the previous night with the clear moon, obviously it'd be way too much light, but the 30-second exposure would cause things to look blurry. But with high clouds, it really diffuses the light, so you can take really long exposures of something through high clouds and still see a reasonable level of detail. So I was able to see still some of the detail of the eclipsed moon here with this really long exposure. So I was happy that I was able to capture anything. And then you can see as I continued to capture that it just became completely cloudy, and you really couldn't even see the moon at all. And then after a few minutes, it just started to complete downpour. So that was the end of my eclipse shooting. But like, yeah, this is just like an example of how you might have to adjust your settings for the specific conditions. So yeah, thanks for joining the eclipse or the lunar editing, for capturing and editing masterclass today, and I hope it's helpful for you. We have the links to the school community down in the description. If you join there, you can learn how to capture and edit the photos that you see here on my YouTube and also on my other social media. And yeah, if you're interested, like join my community and message me. I'd be happy to sit down with you and look through your photos, try to give you some pointers on how you can improve those. And yeah, whether it's a moon photo, Milky Way, if you're trying to stack, I can definitely give you tips on all of these different processes. So hope you have a good evening. Again, like this video is not live like some of my master classes. I have some scheduling conflicts this week and next couple weeks, so I'll be doing things a little bit differently. So I'm still trying to be able to hop on here and provide you guys with some value. So I hope you appreciate, you're able to appreciate this and produce some good images yourself. And again, like if you need to reach out to me directly, you can always find me in the community and school down in the comments. So thanks for watching.